give me a little. I could try. Thank you. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاء المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم إن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما انزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعنب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم سلام عليكم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في السور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لتمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نؤمره ننكسه في الخلق فلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللنا لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحيي الذي أنشأه أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات دعای کمیل. اعوذ بالله من الشیطان الرجیم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي قلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحت كل اسم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النغم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تصامعني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد للذنوب غافرا ولا لقبائي ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترته وكم من فاضح من البلاء أقلته وكم من عثار وقيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته اللهم عظم بلائي وأفرت بي سؤالي وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أقلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد أملي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ونطوالي يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وقفلتي وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي في قضاءك وألزمني حكمك وبلاغك وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مغرا مذعنا معترفا لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة رحمتك اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شد وثاقي يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي يوما بدا خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي يا إلهي وسيدي وربي أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهج به لساني من ذكرك واعتقده ضميري من حبك وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تزيع من ربيته أو تبعد من أدنيته أو تشرد من آويته أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدة وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقة وبشكرك مادحة وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة وعلى ضمائر هوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة وعلى جوارها سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طاغية وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة ما كذا الظن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثه يسير بقاؤه قصير مدته فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما منها أضج وأبكي لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته فلئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك فابني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك و ابنی صبرت علی حر نارک فکیف اصبر عن النظر الى کرامتک ام کیف اسکن فی النار و رجایی عفوک فبعزتک یا سیدی و مولای اقسم صادقا لئن ترکتنی ناطقا لأوجن الیک بین اهلها زجیج العاملین ولأصرخن الیک صراخ المستسرقین ولأبکین علیک بکاء الفاقدین ولأنادینک این کنت یا ولی المؤمنین یا غایت آمال العارفین یا غیاث المستغیثین یا حبیب قلوب الصادقین و یا اله العالمین افتراک سبحانک یا الهی و بحمدک تسمع فیها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فیها بمخالفته و ذاق طعم عذابها بمعصیته و حبس بین اطباقها بجرمه و جریرته و هو یضج الیک ضجیج مؤمل لرحمتک و ینادیک بلسان اهل توحیدک و یتوسل الیک بربوبیتک یا مولای فکیف یبقى فی العذاب و هو یرجو ما سلف من حلمک ام کیف تعلمه النار و هو یعمل فضلک و رحمتک ام کیف یحرقه لهیبها و انت تسمع صوته و ترى مکانه ام کیف یشتمل علیه زفیرها و انت تعلم ضعفه ام کیف یتغلغل بین اطباقها و انت تعلم الصدق ام کیف تزجره زبانیتها و هو ینادیک یا ربه ام کیف یرجو فضلک فی عتقه منها فتترکه فیها هیهات ما ذلک الظن بک ولا المعروف من فضلک ولا مشبع لما عاملت بالموحدین من برک و احسانک فبالیقین اقطع لولا ما حکمت به من تعذیب جاهدیک و قضیت به من اخلاد معاندیک لجعلت النار كلها بردا و سلاما و ما کان لأحد فیها مقرا ولا مقاما لکنک تقدست اسماؤک اقسمت ان تملأها من الكافرین من الجنة والناس اجمعین و ان تخلد فیها المعاندین و انت جل ثناؤک قلت مبتدعا و تطولت بالانعام متکرما افمن کان مؤمنا کمن کان فاسقا لا یستوون الهی و سیدی فاسألک بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تعبلي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بإثبات الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جواري وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترته وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلته أو إحسان فضلته أو بر نشرته أو رزق بسطته أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي يا من بيده ناصيتي يا عليما بذري ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة وبخدمتك موصولة وأعمالي عندك مقبولة حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا يا سيدي يا من عليه مؤولي يا من إليه شكوت أهوالي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قو على خدمتك جواري واشدد على العظيمة جواني وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرع إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في البارزين وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وأخافك مخافة الموقنين وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده ومن كادني فكده واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وأخصم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجد لي بجودك واعطف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وأقلني أثرتي واغفر زلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة فإليك يا رب نسبت وجهي وإليك يا رب مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنا ارحم من رأس مال الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء يا سابق النعم يا دافع النقم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بي ما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Dr. Dungusi, respected elders, brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight's program has been sponsored for the Ithal Thawab for Marhum Kazim Bhai Hashim and all Marhumeens, sponsored by Dinani family. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Tonight's Yasin has been sponsored for the Ithal Thawab of the Marhumeens that are displayed on the screen. Let us all recite Surah Fatiha for all Marhumeens. Let us also recite Surah Fatiha for Marhum Mohsin Bhai Hassan Ali Jafar Alu, who is the brother of our very own brother Ahmad Alu, as well as Marhum Mahmoud Dost Muhammad Nathu, who passed away today in London. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim ghayril maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. Tomorrow, Friday, Salatul Jumah will start at 11:15 a.m. with Sheikh Bilal, starting with Dua and Nudba, followed by Chai and Chat with Sheikh Bilal at 9 p.m. The topic of discussion will be marrying outside the faith and things to know, as well as a ladies-only yoga session that will be happening at the same time. On Saturday, at 4:30 p.m., we will be having a burial assistance program special meeting, followed by madrasa on Sunday at 10:45 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. We are requesting all community members to please contribute $250 towards the initiative that we have sent out on today's newswire. We have some donors who have agreed to match any funds that are collected by December 15th. Kindly donate generously. Every contribution, big or small, makes a significant impact. It's to support our scholars and Tabligh initiatives. Join us in our mission to nurture and sustain our spiritual community. We are currently raising funds for the Alim Fund and Tabligh costs, which are vital for supporting our resident scholars and a variety of Tabligh-related activities. Your generous contributions will enable us to continue providing valuable educational programs, engaging community services, and the spiritual guidance that enriches our lives. Our target is to raise $120,000 by December 31st. This will ensure our Alim and Tabligh Fund deficit is taken care of before we close the books for the end of the year. Together, we can ensure that our community remains a beacon of knowledge, faith, and unity. We thank you for your support. You can either donate on the website directly, see our treasurers, or even if you don't want to do that, you can do the text message option, and it's under the Tabligh and Alim Fund. Lastly, please join me in reciting the ayah of Amma Yujib 5 times for all those who are sick here and around the world. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibul mustarriza da'u wa yakshifu su. 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 Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Let us all recite Allah's salawat as we call up Dr. Dungarsi. For Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, salawat.
سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من كفر بالله من بعد إيمانه إلا من أكره وقلبه مطمئن بالإيمان ولكن من شرح بالكفر صدرا فعليهم غضب من الله ولهم عذاب عظيم. صلوات. Mu'mineen, these are verses from chapter 16, Surah Nahl, verse number 106, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about a predicament that is there in all ages and in all times. And that is in the existence of 2 groups of people under one guise. And Allah talks about them. One is وَمَنْ كَفَرَ بِاللَّهِ بَعْدِ إِيمَانِهِ. There is those groups of people who are disbelievers after they have believed in Him. There were people who once believed in Allah, but they do not believe in Allah anymore. They're kufr. And then there is another group which is also like them, that these two groups go together. But one group, Allah talks, are the one who have got wa kufr, who are disbelievers. And for them, Allah therefore they are going to be punished severely for what they are. But then the second group is those people who are with them, like them, but they are not. Why? Because they have got faith in Allah. However, circumstances are such that are compelled by necessity, they also pretend to be like them. However, they are not. And therefore Allah said these are two groups of people. For those who are kufr, who are disbelievers, there is going to be severe punishment for them. But for those who are not disbelievers, but they are in situation where they behave like them. They, in other words, hide their faith. Many years ago, when there was a place of work, and the owner one used to have these contractors. So the contract would come and you do some work. And this was the place of marhum, I forget the name now, one marhum for whom we used to work. And this person would talk with him matters of religion. And therefore that boss one day said, why don't you talk with this, mention my name, that he is there, why don't you talk with him? So he said, what is it all about? He said that one of our scholars, he was from Ahlul Sunnah, this contractor from Ahlul Sunnah, that one of our scholars tells me, where do you go to do this work? He said, I go to these people who are from Ahlul Shia, they are Shias. They say, these people are very bad people. Be careful with them. So he tells them, but I see this, and this was, I remember the name now, Alhamdulillah, he's my good friend, Shaukat Khalfa. This was his place. So Marhum Shaukat Khalfa used to talk with him. And he used to tell a lot of things to Marhum Shaukat, who therefore one day said, why don't you talk with the person who may be able to answer you? He says, so our scholar, our whoever, tells us the Shias are very bad people. So this contractor says, but I see them to be good people. He says, these people are doing taqiyya. These people are doing taqiyya. They don't believe in anything. They just pretend because they practice taqiyya. Meaning he was mixing up taqiyya and hypocrisy, munafiq. And therefore these verses of the Quran, and very interesting, this event, this kind of situation exists in all ages, except also in our own age in which we live today. And this is the reason, very briefly, we'll talk about what is this taqiyya. What is taqiyya? Is it really hypocrisy, as this particular person was told, that these people are hypocrites? What is the difference then between hypocrisy and taqiyya? Taqiyya in Quran has been mentioned in many places. The one verses which I have read in front of you is here. That when there is a situation in which a believer cannot act and cannot talk and cannot present himself or herself through the faith in which he believes, he cannot do it out of what? Out of danger of what? It's mentioned here, danger of his life, danger of his honor, danger of getting into a very, very bad situation. And therefore, to avoid that, as these verses tell here, that in a situation like this, the person does not need to express his faith openly and live in that situation where others do not have the reason to harm him because of his faith. However, hypocrisy, and this is the difference, a hypocrite, he presents himself as a believer, as a person who has belief in Allah, belief in whatever he says, belief in what he says, but in his heart he does not. That's hypocrite. That's hypocrisy. For taqiyya is exactly the opposite. What he says and what he publicly presents himself is not what is in his heart. Inside himself, he believes something else. He believes in his faith. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here and many other places in the Quran, where taqiyya is a situation where, as we have said, one lives in a society, one lives in a culture, and one lives in a time when one cannot express what is the core of his faith. And therefore, he hides it and tries to be very, very, if you want to call it, not diplomatic, but in such a way that whenever he can, he does present himself as a better person. How? Through what his faith tells him. There are a lot of things his faith tells him, which is so good that when he presents it, he may not find himself getting into difficulties. That is what one has to live through these difficult times. For instance, one of the obligations if a believer is to disassociate himself or herself in every way from oppressors, and should do everything possible for that person to help those who are oppressed. Now, in a society in which we live today, you see what is going on. And therefore, in a situation like this, taqiyya is practiced. So what is the faith? What does Islam talk about taqiyya? A few instances we'll mention, inshallah, and will make your life easier, and you can all go home. If you read one salawat. Read again another salawat, please. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wa salam. They are traditions from him mostly, and these give us an indication of how important this concept of taqiyya is in Shia madhab. It may not be with Ahlul Sunnah wal Jamaat, but with us it is very, very important. And therefore, Imam alayhi salatu wasalam says, and I will quote him, and he says that he who does not believe, now, believing is something else, practicing is something else. The one who believes but does not practice it is something else. But the one who does not believe, who totally does not believe in this performance of taqiyya, Imam says he is not among the Shias of Amirul Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib. A person who is a Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, for him, the idea, acceptance of the fact that taqiyya is part and parcel of the madhab of Ahlul Bayt. Denial of it is not being able to practice it or practicing it. Imam says, then Imam was asked, then when does one observe? This is what Imam says, the person himself will decide when he should observe taqiyya or not. When these are the three factors that are in his mind. One is his honor, second is his property, his wealth, third is his life. These are the three factors that one has in his mind when he decides either to practice taqiyya or not to practice. That, Imam says, lies in his own hand. And then he gives an example. He says, for example, subsiding one's anger, controlling one's anger, when there is that anger inside him. When? The anger, when he sees that his enemies are in power. The anger that comes when you see your enemies, the oppressors, they are in power. And you can do nothing or very little about it. You are in that situation where you're very, very angry, Imam as-Sadiq says, and therefore controlling yourself that time, practicing taqiyya at that time, it keeps that person safe from trouble in life. That when he finds in that position, he's very, very angry. What does he do? As a requirement that an oppressor is there, and you have to go and do something about that person, that system that's oppressive. You've got to do something about it. But you are in a situation where you cannot do it. How? Because, first of all, your honor. Second thing is your wealth. Third thing is your life. However, at the essence of all this is how effective can you be observing taqiyya and yet some way or another helping the oppressed. If that is a position in which you are, then you are observing taqiyya. Don't go and do something openly that may destroy you. Stay in a position where you can still, some way or another, help the oppressed rather than cursing the oppressor. Rather than cursing the oppressor, and nothing is going to happen with your cursing, rather there is going to be an effect in something else that you can do when you can still, one way or another, help the oppressed, then do it. That is taqiyya. And you have got several examples. We give you 3 examples to make things very easy. 3 examples. If you read one salawat again. 3 examples where you see 2 groups of people or 2 people. One observed taqiyya, one did not. And both of them were honors, the honorable people, and they are praised in Islam. Number 1, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in chapter 40, verse number 28, is talking about that person who observed taqiyya. And it gives you the reason why he observed taqiyya and why was taqiyya better for him than coming out. وَقَالَ رَجُلًا مُؤْمِنٌ مِنْ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ يَكْتُمْ إِيمَانَهُ. Allah is talking about that man who was during the time of Fir'aun, who was a mu'min. He was a believer. However, he hid his belief. This is a person by the name of Hizkil. Hizkil is one of those people who was in the court of Fir'aun. And this is the time when Fir'aun is talking about how to kill Nabi Musa. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala therefore calls this person Mu'min. Why? Because he did not say that he had already accepted the religion brought by Musa. He did not. If he did, he would be killed. So he was a Mu'min in a sense that he still had Iman in the religion, in the Islam brought by Nabi Musa. But he did not disclose it. He kept it quiet. Did he keep quiet? No. He did something which, if he had declared himself to be a follower of Nabi Musa, he would have been killed and would have gone. By staying behind, he started one way or another questioning, raising question onto Fir'aun and to the people of Fir'aun, as the verses of the Quran in this chapter explain. He says, why would you want to kill somebody? Because Fir'aun is talking about arranging to kill Nabi Musa. And he gives him advice. Why would you want to kill him? Just because he says that he believes in his God? Whether the God is there or whether he's not there is something else. But because he says that, you want to kill him? Does that really make sense? And let's suppose, like what sometimes you say, let's be the devil's advocate. And suppose he is right. Then what's going to happen to us? All the wealth. So why don't we be a bit discreet? Do you understand? This is taqiyah. That he hides his faith right inside his heart. He knows that Musa is correct. And he knows that Fir'aun is wrong. But he doesn't openly come out and tell Fir'aun, you're wrong. And as a result, get himself killed. No. He thinks by concealing his faith, he can help who? Their religion, that Nabi Musa and the message of Nabi Musa. Not only does he talk to Fir'aun, he also, because he's a person of repute, he has a good reputation, people believe in him, he goes in public and he calls people and says, why would we all do this? Let's give him a chance. And he tells him, suppose if he is correct, he whispers into the ears, suppose he is right, and there is the God that he's talking about. And if he does send his punishment, what is going to happen to us? We'll all be destroyed. So why don't you give him a chance? Let him say what he wants to do. We can find some other ways of dealing with him. Why would you want to kill him? You understand? This is the example of the times of difficulties when one can help the oppressed, one can help the cause of Allah by hiding his actual strong faith inside him. This is one example that is given here. Then there is a second example, and this is the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. During the early period when Muslims were being really oppressed, where you did not want to accept Islam, you said you are Islam, you went through it. You will be punished. And therefore, there is a story of Ammar bin Yasir. Ammar bin Yasir, Ammar is famous, you all know about him. And his father Yasir and Yasir's mother Sumayya, they accepted Islam. When they accepted Islam, they had to go through difficulties. So many difficulties they had to go. They were oppressed, they were poor, and they lived among those who are kuffar of Makkah, who have no faith, who had no kindness in their heart, no compassion. Like you see what happens today with the Fir'auns of this time. So they were giving him a lot of hard time. Ultimately, they told him, you have to say what we want you to say about their gods. Yasir and Sumayya refused. They were killed. They were killed because they refused to observe taqiyya. They were killed. Ammar himself saved his life. He did what the kuffar of Makkah wanted him to say. So he said that they freed him. So he observed taqiyya. Now he comes to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now he's crying and he's weeping. What is it? He says, this is what I have done. To save my life, I did what I shouldn't have done. The Prophet poses this question. Did you believe in what you said? He said, no. So why? What is it that you said? You did not believe in it? No. What is there in your heart? He said, in my heart is Tawheed. I believe strongly in what you have taught to us. Strongly believe in it. This is the Prophet said, then it's all right. Allah will forgive you. Remember these verses that I've read in front. You had to do it to save your life. And what kind of life? Then you find what Ammar did in his lifetime. So Ammar saved his life because he still saw an opportunity, that there was an opportunity for him to serve the cause of Allah in future if he tries to save his life at this point in time. The father did not see that opportunity. The mother did not see that opportunity, that we have any chances of serving the way of Allah except giving our lives and be an example to others. That when a situation comes, if you have to give your life for the sake of Islam. See? This is what taqiyya is. Circumstances, as Imam as-Sadiq said, the person, the mu'min himself will know when to observe taqiyya, when to come out in open. And this is what you see in Karbala, for example. You see, there were those people who stayed behind, thinking that by staying behind they would serve. And there were those who thought, this is the time we have to be with Imam Hussein. And therefore those who stayed behind, who observed taqiyya at that time, people like Mukhtar, people like those who finally came out to fight against the tyrants of the time. So you see then, the point is that taqiyya depends upon everybody. Belief in taqiyya is very, very important. It's the most central part of the madhab of Ahlul Bayt. Whether you keep quiet for reason or you come out, it all depends upon you and your conscience and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the second example of taqiyya versus one comes out. In both cases are acceptable depending upon what you think you are in a position in which you find yourself. The third example of taqiyya, which you can all know, is that of Hazrat Abu Talib. Hazrat Abu Talib. Up to today, the blind ones, summun, bukmun, umyun, fahum la yarji'un, they still call Hazrat Abu Talib a kafir. They do it. After all the evidence that is there, after all the, still if they want to believe it, let them believe. However, the way Abu Talib did not declare that he was on the religion of Islam as taught by the Prophet. He did not initially do it. Why didn't he do it? Because there's a reason. The way he saved Islam, the way he gave services to Islam, he could not have been able to do that if he had not observed taqiyya. How much did he help Islam? How much did he help? I don't have to go into all the details. the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. As a child of 6 years old, he was with Hazrat Abu Talib. And he brought him up. He prepared him for the life to come. All the time. Was all the time he was kafir? No. Hazrat Abu Talib was a wali. Like every prophet has a wali. He was a wali. He was on mazhab of Nabi Ibrahim. Millah of Nabi Ibrahim. He was a believer, but would not want to disclose his beliefs. Why? Because he was the leader of the Quraysh. And in that position, he could protect the Prophet. When the Prophet ﷺ declared his prophethood, you know, the one who came to protect him all along was Hazrat Abu Talib. That it was in his house that the Prophet called the clans of Bani Hashim and declared his prophethood in his house. When those who opposed him, he is the one who stood up and supported him. His son Ali was there to support him. And finally, when they come to him, he never says, they see, all the time, they still thought that he was on their mazhab, these kuffar of Makkah. They come and make proposals to him that give your son to us and we give our son to you. He stays with you, he lives, we give. And what does he say? What a kind of a deal you have. See, again, he doesn't curse them, he presents his case in such a way that it is acceptable. He says, what kind of a deal is this? I take your sons and bring him up in comfort and bring him up in a best situation, and you take my son and you kill him. What kind of a proposal is this? So he protected the Prophet up to that point when finally these people begin to suspect that this Abu Talib is not among us. Therefore came that boycott on Abu Talib. Too late for them. By that time, the Prophet had already, and even at that stage, in that place where Abu Talib and the family and the Prophet had gone to an exile, there also the Prophet was protected by whom? By Abu Talib. And had at that time Abu Talib still say that he was a Muslim, you know? You see, so he was practicing. You see how he practiced this taqiyya, served Islam in that way. And this is the reason why they hate him up to today. They say he died kafir. He didn't die kafir. If you look at his letters, if you look at the sermon that he cited for the Prophet, you will see that he was a Muslim. Did he say so? No. But his presentation was such. Otherwise, today people would say, and they don't say it, but sometimes maybe some want to say it, but they cannot say it, and that is if Abu Talib was a kafir, madallah, madallah, he recited the nikah of the Prophet, then what does it mean? I don't want to tell you. That marriage was not valid. And who was born from that valid? Hazrat Fatima Zahra. So this effort to destroy the character of Abu Talib was to actually character assassinate the Prophet and all the progeny of the Prophet. See how much did he serve? Through taqiyya. So this is the reason why Imam says that for a Shia, for a believer of Ahlul Bayt, this concept of taqiyya is very, very important. And one has to know how to use it, how to practice during these days in which we live today. Taqiyya is very, very important. Therefore, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq used to tell them, do more preaching and presentation of things through your character than cursing. He says, you know what, somebody in the mosque was cursing me. That's Imam Jafar Sadiq says. He was cursing me. When I heard him, I hid behind a pillar so they should not see me. And I should not see him. That observation, therefore, of this is very, very important. And then Imam said, and this is a warning. This is a warning. He says, as the time of the reappearance of the hujjah of the time comes, observation of taqiyya will become very, very important and very, very difficult to practice. And this is the warning that we are all being given. And therefore, to conclude, chapter 3, verse number 28. When you go home, when you get time, read this and try to understand what it is. The literal translation I'll read for you. Let not believers take disbelievers as their friends in preference to believers. And those, therefore, who do this, that they take as their ulama, they take as their friends, alim, or take them, whatever you want to call them. These are the people who have no connection with Allah. Unless it be that you guard yourself against them for fear of being killed. Meaning, association with those who are non-believers, there are lines to be drawn. That does not mean you should totally dissociate with yourself with them. No. There are areas in which you work with them. Work with them. If things have to be done together, try to work with them. Be like them, like a human being. Remember, however, that when it comes to a matter of faith, there will be lines that will have to be drawn. You can have a very, very good friend who is a Hindu, for example, very good friend. You talk with him, but also you have to draw a line. You know that there are certain things which are haram, and there are certain things which is halal. And therefore, observation of these laws of Islam must be there. He should respect you for what you are. You should respect him for who he is. But draw lines. When it comes to matter of belief, then you are not going to be influenced by them. What has happened today in the Muslim world, you know better. These verses tell us you can associate with others, but there are lines to be drawn. And therefore, then these verses say, unless, of course, you do it to safeguard yourself, taqiyya. Observe taqiyya, deal with those who are non-believers, deal with them. And therefore, sometimes this question is asked, that sometimes people who are not followers of mazhab of Ahlul Bayt, they join us, and they join us in our prayers, and they join us in the prayers, and some of them are in the front line, and they pray the way they have been taught. Does that affect our prayers? Does it affect by being there in the first line, cut connection? No, not at all. Not at all. Because their mazhab, if it's a Shafi, he follows his mazhab. They follow their madhab. For them, this is what it is. I have no right to turn to them and say, your namaz is batil, because do I know my namaz is acceptable? So far as they are Muslims, they're even in the first line, and they don't use, for example, sajdaga, that's all right for them, because this is what it is. I know some people will think he's just telling, go and find out yourselves. This is what the mas'ala is. That you cannot tell them that if you want to be that pious, then why don't you come and fill the first line? Why have the Imam all the time to beg you people, please come, you sitting outside. And then if somebody else comes in the first line, oh, there are the children, there's a child there, there will be a child there. The child was Mumayyaz. Therefore, he gives the connection. If you didn't want the child to, then you should have come there. And there's also another very interesting habit. I also have that habit. If you see a space, you tell somebody, go fill that. Why don't you go and fill it? Why would you push somebody, go and fill that? You go and do it yourself. You see there is a gap, fill it. So these are the things that we can say, even among ourselves. We observe taqiyya. Sometimes there are certain things which we say, sometimes we don't say, because then it will be a problem. So these are the situations in which we live today. And that's why you will find that Imams, Ahlul Bayt, all of them did not rise like Imam Hussein rose, because they knew when it was appropriate. These are the Imams of the time. And therefore you'll find after Karbala, Imam Zainul Abidin. He lived in a very, very difficult time. At the time when the enemies thought that they had already done the job, they already succeeded. Imam Zainul Abidin had to present the case of the oppressed. You will hardly therefore see Imam Zainul Abidin cursing the oppressors. You will see that his approach was to present the case of those who were oppressed. And this is where you will find Imam Zainul Abidin in his life. The du'as that he presented, for example, look at those du'as. They are all teaching what a mu'min and what a follower of Ahlul Bayt should do. And as for the oppressed, his weeping and his crying for those years that he lived. That wherever it was possible, he would present the case of those who were oppressed. And when you talk about those who are oppressed, the oppressors normally ignore it. Only when you start talking, cursing them, then things become difficult. Therefore, Imam Zainul Abidin, whenever he had this opportunity, he would express his thoughts and his thinking about what happened to the oppressed. This is the reason why it is said after events of Karbala, every morning he would arrange the prayers in his house. So few people would come, as usual, come and pray behind him in Namaz-e Jamaat. Others would wait, because after that the Imam would serve food. So others would wait, and they would come to partake in the food. And even that Imam encouraged them. And in those moments, Imam would talk about the hunger and the thirst of those who went through in Karbala. And whenever he went in the bazaar, and this is all know about this, we just mention it as an example. He would see these they would slaughter the animals. And Imam would turn to him and say, you slaughtered this cow or this goat. Did you give water to it? Did you feed it before killing it? He said, Rasulullah, we are Muslims, we follow Islam. He says, yes, so were those Muslims in Karbala. They slaughtered my father. They slaughtered family members, hungry and thirsty. After the prayers in his house, Imam would weep and cry for Masa'ib of Sayyidul Shuhada. And one of the companions asked him, Yabna Rasulillah, so many years have passed. So many years have passed. Why do you still cry for what happened in Karbala? Imam would say that you are not doing justice to me. Quran talks about Nabi Yaqub and Yusuf. Yusuf disappeared from Yaqub temporarily only, but Yaqub wept so much that he lost his eyesight. As for me, in front of me I saw the friends of my father, family members, my own father being slaughtered like animals. Why wouldn't I weep for them? The men then would say, hey, Abna Rasulillah, but martyrdom is a great honor that has been reserved for you. Your father and those who are with him were honored by being martyred. Imam would say, yes, true, but you're not doing justice to me. They acquired martyrdom, yes, but how about the family of the Prophet, the daughter of Rasulullah, the grandchildren of Rasulullah being paraded in the street of Kufa and Shab? Is that also part of our heritage? ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيد نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك وارث آدم صفة الله، السلام عليك وارث نوح نبي الله، السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله، السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله، السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله، السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام ولي الله، السلام عليك ابن محمد المصطفى، السلام عليك ابن علي المرتضى، السلام عليك ابن فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك ابن خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا ثعلب ابن ثاري والبتر الموتور، أشهد أنك قد قمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين، فلعن الله من قتلتك ولعن الله من ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمت بذلك فرزيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأسلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مظلمات ثيابها، وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين، وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرزي الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والأرض الوثقى والهجة على أهل الدنيا، وأشهد الله ملائكة أنبياء ورسلا أني بكم مؤمن بها بكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع، صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. السلام عليك ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك ابن نبي الله، السلام عليك ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك ابن حسين الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها المظلوم ابن المظلوم، لعن الله من قتلتك ولعن الله من ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمت بذلك فرزيت به. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباء، السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وأوداء، السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليكم يا أنساب محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الزكي الناصر، السلام عليكم يا أنصار بعبد الله، بأبي أنتم وأمي تبتم وتابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. السلام عليك يا أبو الفضل عباس بن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن ولي القوم إسلاما وأقدم إيمانا وأقوم بدين الله وأحوتم الإسلام. أشهد لك أن صحة لله ولرسوله ولأخيك فنعم الأخ المواسي. فلعن الله من قتلتك ولعن الله من ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة استهلت منك المحارم وأنتهكت حرمة الإسلام. فنعم الصابر المجاهد المحامي الناصر والأخ الدافن أخي المجيب إلى طاعة ربي الراغب فيما زيد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل والحقق الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا علي بن حسين زين العابدين. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباكر. السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق. السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم. السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا. السلام عليك يا محمد بن اليتقي الجواد. السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الهادي. السلام عليك يا حسن بن العسكري. السلام عليك يا حجة الله بن سنيان صاحب الزمان سيدي الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك توأ وتمتيه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد.